Perfect. Okay, welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. I'm sat here today with Enya Elstner. Mila is still away in the US, but yeah, we're going to start off with a little clip of Keinem gesagt.
Du legst dich neben mich und drehst dich zu mir ein. Zeichne Wirbel für Wirbel bis zum Takt, atme Schlaf selbst ein.
And that was Keinem gesagt by Enya Elstner. So a lot of people will know you from your role on Tira bis unters Dach. You were 11 acting at that time. How long has music been kind of the goal for you? Was it already then and it was an option to get into entertainment or?
Mm-hmm. Always. I used to do a lot of like theater also, and I was this annoying kid that always did like performances at home and forced my parents to watch my very good performances of like musicals and stuff. So that was always was like a hand-in-hand thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I started very young when I was 11, and I started writing like a lot of songs also like in between takes and like when we had a lot of breaks, and I had to wait a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that started very early, but I didn't show anyone for a very, very long time. So yeah, but it was always there. And I was always very, very, very fascinated and geeky about music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it music? Were musicals the first thing you were really into?
Like when I was a kid, yes. I think my sister was listening just to a lot of musicals, and it was just fun to perform. So that was a big thing. But yeah, it was always like my dad was listening to a lot of jazz at the time, and my sister is also a singer. So that was also a thing I thought was very cool, and I wanted to be like my big sister. And yeah.
Do you remember what the first like album or artist was that wasn't jazz from your dad or musicals or what your sister was listening to that you got really excited about?
Oh, that's such a good question. Like the first thing, I remember that I was insanely obsessed with 808s and heartbreaks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing that I was just, I could not stop listening to it. And that was really that inspired me also a lot to start writing and to start doing my own songs, because I thought it's so vulnerable and so cool how this raw feeling is like, it hurts, but it feels good when you're listening to it. But I thought it was very interesting. So that was like maybe one of my first things that really struck me.
It makes sense as well, because like a lot of the melodies in that album are all very musical, like Broadway inspired, where they're like big arching melodies.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and then it's just like a new aspect of something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what got you into hip hop as well, or did it take longer for that to hit?
No, that I think maybe that, I don't know. I was listening to a lot of German rap also when I was like 14, 15, and then I got like I had this subscription of this music magazine, German hip hop music magazine called Juice, and I loved it. And then I was reading a lot and then discovering new artists and listening to a lot of German hip hop, and that was also cool. And that's what I think is now very interesting, that I'm like writing German songs, that I think subconsciously think a lot about these German hip hop songs. That's because that was the thing that got me into this German texts and lyrics and stuff.
Yeah, the first EP you released was in English, and then Ladder, which was last year, was also in English. But now the last two have been in German. Is there a reason for that switch at all?
Just trying it out. I just wanted to try it out. Like nothing that I specifically wanted to do. I wanted to do a hard switch. Like also, I think maybe I'm gonna do a couple more songs in English. But I've always loved writing in German, and I think German can be also like a very beautiful language and with very interesting words and stuff. And I was just interested in trying that out. But now I love it. It's fun.
Do you find that there's different things that you like to write about in German versus in English because the language is better for it?
I think sometimes it's easier to sound cool in English, and then it's kind of like, for me, it's a little bit more of a challenge to to write songs that I think also sound cool with like German words.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also very like it's a very interesting process, because then I'm writing, but then I'm singing it, and then I have to like switch a word because the vowels don't really like, it's
Yeah.
maybe too harsh, or my producer is losing his mind because of the sharp S and T sound like the consonants.
I thought that. I was listening to kind of gesagt, like,
Yeah.
I had to go pick up a camera and my way back, and I was thinking, I don't listen to a lot of like sung German songs, like there's some Deutschrap in my playlist, but there's a lot of that S's and
Yes.
stuff that in English you just kind of take out, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be rough.
It's also very, very funny when sometimes we're listening to a mix and I'm like, you just cut the half of the word because he thinks it's just like, I don't know, a sound that I accidentally did. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, we need that T or that S.
Mhm.
It sounds shitty, but yeah. But it's fun. Like he's getting used to it, and I think he also thinks it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So you were acting, you've been writing and interviewing for the magazine, and now doing music. Was there any conflicts at times where you're like, this is kind of what I'm doing because I'm contractually, like, I have to keep writing for this magazine because it's my job, but also I just really want to do music? Was there a time like that, or did you always kind of find time?
No, never. I think I've loved doing a lot of things simultaneously. Like also after I stopped working for the music magazine, and then I did my bachelor's also in like media management, and then I was working like last year full time also for a climate tech startup, and I think I'm more creative and more productive when I have like a day job thing, because then every second that I have like in my free time, I'm like so excited that I can use it for music or for like creative stuff. And when I only like I just had like a couple of weeks where I didn't have a job because I'm starting a new job like on 17th of July, and then it was harder for me because I had all this time, and it was like, oh fuck man, I need to write a good song. I just so yeah, I'm more productive when I have a main thing and just really
And then you can kind of also, it's like going for a walk a little bit where you let the ideas kind of run your bit on autopilot.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like there's any skills that transferred from your time acting to now performing or for writing?
Yes, I think especially performing and also like recording vocals and stuff. I think it's this kind of concentration or just snapping into performing also, because that's what you do. Like when you record vocals, it's like it's a little bit like acting also, like acting with your voice and stuff, and just being like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And then I think maybe that's something that that I now benefit from, but and also I think maybe being a little bit more comfortable with like recording, or just I'm also like I'm not afraid of like hearing my voice or stuff, you know.
True, because you're kind of used to it.
Yeah.
Is there like when you're acting, it's emotionally vulnerable in the way that people see you in different emotions, but it's not your words, it's not your like what you're communicating, versus with songwriting it's like all the way down to everything is you. Did it take a while to get used to that different kind of vulnerability, or what was that like?
Yes, I think it was definitely frightening. I don't know if that's the right word.
But, exactly.
But now I think that was the thing that also got me into like releasing my songs or just making my own music, because I love acting, and I think it's it's a great skill. If you're a good actress or actor, that's like an amazing skill. But I was always, when I didn't like the lines I had to say, I hated doing this, or just it felt so unnatural, or just I really didn't like that. And so now being able to sing the songs that I write is the best thing ever, because just having this power of being able to say what I want to say is really cool.
In that same kind of like idea of vulnerability, honestly, I don't know what the last single was about. I've listened to it a lot, but I find it really difficult to concentrate on lyrics. But the two before that, were so von uns beiden and Lade were both about relationships. That's vulnerable in a different way. How did you feel about bringing that out and having it kind of like as a public thing? Parents see it, the person it's about hears it.
Yeah. That's the tough part about it.
Mm-hmm.
I also like my mom takes it very literally when I write stuff, and then sometimes most of the time, or I start a song because I'm thinking about a certain topic or a certain like situation or person or whatever. But then again, like sometimes it takes months for the song to develop, and then I'm not even anymore like in this specific feeling. And then I write a line that's like that I think fits the song and the mood, but is not in like every word is not about that person anymore, you know. So especially like with Ladder, it's the song about like friendships drifting apart, or just kind of realizing that you can't really talk to a friend anymore because it's like a weird vibe. And that wasn't really about one specific person. It was just thinking about different friendships or relationships, or how everything is like evolving, and it's so weird that you connect to somebody at some point, and then a few years later you think that it's just
gone.
It's just gone, and so it's but my mom's always like, what did you mean by that? What did you mean? Are you okay? Yeah.
When you're writing like that, and it's kind of like it's over a long period of time, and you're trying to find the words, are you usually coming into it with the headspace of like, this is what I want to write about, let's find a way to communicate that? Or is it more phonetics, like, oh, this word just sounds right, let's bridge to get there?
Most of the times, like, I love writing just at home alone. I'm not really, I think I'm also, it's not my strength to do like writing sessions or stuff, and I think I write in my opinion, the best lyrics when I'm just alone at home and just thinking about something. And then I write down also for like what I'm thinking about, like not even like in a song type of way, but maybe like the topic, and then I try to like incorporate that. But sometimes, you know, when some words just don't fit the whole vibe, I like change them. But I think first it's the meaning of what I want to get out. Yeah.
Are you doing that like in bullet points, kind of like these are the emotions I'm feeling, or is it like just write like a couple pages of just thoughts and then figure out from that what you're thinking?
I think like also random ideas, like sometimes these random sentences of also like not really what it's about, but like a mood of a or just like certain words that come into mind and stuff, and then
just brainstorming.
Yeah.
You've also had like a lot of emphasis on visuals, even back to like Open the Blinds, and then the most recent music video. Is that something that comes to you because of your work with like film and TV, or is it completely separate when it's about music?
I don't know, maybe like when I'm writing a song, I always imagine like a film scene or stuff in my head, and I think that goes kind of hand in hand, and I think it's just such a nice way. Also, I grew up on music videos,
right?
So I've always loved like Viva and MTV and just watching all these music videos. So that was always something that I really loved, and so then it came in handy that my boyfriend does film, so he did both of the videos, so Open the Blinds and Keinem Gesagt, and it was very cool because it's such a nice way of like a song becoming a whole different thing and going its own way, and then like people come in and are like, oh, okay, I think about this when I hear this, and it's very cool working together on this thing.
Yeah. Are there any music videos that come up every time as a reference where you're like, I know I talk about it all the time, but this video?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think it's just because when I'm listening to the song, like stuff comes in my mind, but we don't really have like the reference of like the specific video or stuff.
Is it usually like shots that are in your mind, as in like framed and everything? You're like, that's the energy I want?
Yeah.
Nice.
Or just like a whole scene, and then you kind of deconstruct it to, okay, also brainstorming and what would fit. And
Yeah. Do you then kind of like storyboard that a little bit and bring a pretty developed idea before you bring it to the kind of the team working on the video?
Actually, for Open the Blinds, I gave him the song and I was like, what do you hear? How would you, or what do you see? What do you hear? What would you like to do with it? And then Tim, so my boyfriend Tim Gilner, came up with this cool idea of just building a room that's supposed to be my mind, because also my the EP that the song is on is called "My Head Is a Beautiful Place Now," and so he built this room that's supposed to be my head, and then the guy, like the dancer guy, is kind of like symbolizing what the weird things, the weird how we navigate our own mind. And that's what I thought was super cool. So I really can take a lot of credit for the video because they did an amazing job. And then he also like brought so many cool people in who worked on it. Mio did an amazing job with like building the room, and then also for the video now. And Konrad was the DOP also for both videos. And he's so good, and it's just such a pleasure to work with those people.
Is it similar when you're working on music, where you go to your producer with kind of like the energy and the idea you want to communicate and build from the ground up, or do you have like GarageBand demos?
Oh, I have so many GarageBand demos. It's horrible. Last night I was just texting my producer. I think I sent him like 10 GarageBand demos. I'm so sorry for the spam. And he's like, no, give it to me all. And he's very sweet with that. I love that. I never have the feeling that I annoy him with all of the GarageBand demos. Yeah. But it's a cool process of just seeing how everything evolves and how the song evolves. And obviously, like I'm there every step of the way and thinking, how could we do that? How could we do that? But Francis is a great producer, and he also brings so many like cool people in. For example, for the Keinem gesagt, he was like, okay, Enya, I think I'm hearing these like soft drums, on this song. And then he showed me like the Air song, Playground Love, that is a really beautiful song. And then he was like, you know what, there's this drummer that he played for them on their live shows. What if we just send him an email and ask him if he wants to jump on the song? And then I was like, yeah, I mean, sure.
You're like, what's the worst that could happen? But it's not going to happen.
I was like, yeah, okay, go for it. But I don't know if he's going to say yes. And then he did. And then he's the drummer that played the drums on the song. And it was so cool. And he was the sweetest guy. And came into the studio and it was insane. Like he just played it once and it was perfect. Insane, cool guy. And Earl Haben, very cool guy.
Yeah, there's a level of musicianship there's a level you're around all the time where it's, especially like producers and songwriters can play guitar and keys to a level where it's like, you can get ideas across, and then when you're around someone that really, really plays their instrument, the energy is very different. Where you're like, oh, I have to go home and practice. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Are there any parts of music that you really want to explore? You have a lot of strings.
Yes.
In your tracks. Do you want to get into playing strings or arranging for strings? Is that you, or is it the producer that's always like?
No, I'm a sucker for strings. I think that's. Always like, especially we want to release a version of Keinem gesagt with only like strings and also like a string, because it's so nice and I love it. And when I'm watching the video, when we were recording the strings, I just sat on the ground and was filming them, and it was so magical, like just only the strings, So we want to release that. But I don't know, I really like exploring like these new sounds and just how we can. Now, at this time, we're kind of trying to find a balance between band sound or like real instruments, and then also very weird production stuff. Like how can we combine that, or like explore, or just have fun with like different sounds. And I think that's super interesting. Like I can, for example, like I just now try to get into Logic and just just clicking through all of the sounds is so interesting. It just like I love that, and I think it's very a lot of fun and so interesting.
Is production something you want to get more into?
Definitely, yeah. I think I'm really bad at it, so I think I would have to
everyone
practice
is until they try, and then even years later, everyone's still pretty bad at it, but just like does their thing specifically.
Yeah, that's also a thing that I think it's so okay to like not be good at it in the beginning, and so I try to practice more and do a lot of shitty beats until I make something that I maybe like and that we can work on. Yeah.
You also have to be bad at it. Like for me, starting to do music seriously a couple of years ago, and I started to take like vocal lessons, and I hadn't really started something new in a long time, and you kind of forget how hard just learning is, because you've been like, when you're a kid you do it all the time, and then if you have a couple of years of break, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I even start with like everything is so much. With strings, can you think of maybe why you like them so much? If there was like an album or an artist, or maybe just someone in the household, something like that, in growing up?
That's a tough question. I think maybe also I've always loved like film music, and I think that was a thing that I always kind of thought was very interesting to bring into pop songs or alternative pop songs, is to make it this like cinematic thing. And when I'm listening to the song, I think it's so cool when you have this movie playing in your head, and I don't know, sitting in the train and just looking out the window and I feel like, oh my god, my life is a movie. But I think that's maybe because that's why I like strings, because it has this cinematic thing about it.
Yeah. What kind of scores were you listening to them like on headphones, which I did growing up? I feel like a lot of people maybe think that's weird.
Yeah.
But can you remember like specific movies, or just like genres that you really liked?
Yeah, I've always loved, there is this from Hans Zimmer, it's this rom-com. It's a Christmas rom-com. It's called The Holiday.
Oh yeah. And
The Holiday has one song, it's called Maestro. And there was also, I think I discovered that when, I don't know, I was like 10 or something. It was one of the first albums that I had on my little tiny iPod.
Yeah, with the little wheel maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I had like a little red one or something. So that was just a thing that I always liked. And then I like, maybe it's not the most prestigious thing to say, but I always loved the Harry Potter soundtrack.
It's good. It's just John Williams, I think.
John Williams, some of it, I think, not everything, but yeah, it's just insane. Yeah.
It's both of those. I also really like both of those, and then there's also I forget it. How am I forgetting his name? Oh, Ludwig Göransson does a lot of scores. Those three I always get really excited about, and then I always feel really dorky doing it, because it's, especially John Williams and Hans Zimmer, it's kind of like getting really excited about music and then being like, yeah, I love Drake and The Weeknd, and people are like, it's so popular, and like, there's a reason why it's popular.
Yes. And I really I'm such an advocate for liking popular music. Yeah. I really don't like it when people are like, I'm sorry, everybody likes that. It's not cool. But there are so many people that enjoy this music, why wouldn't they? And I remember when I started at one of the music magazines, not Juice, because they were super cool. And I really loved the team and everything. But I started at this one music magazine, and they were very, how do you say that? They really enjoyed being cool and special about liking like only cool things, and
like really purist maybe.
And and I remember like there was this one band, an Austrian band that I really wasn't like the biggest fan of, but the whole team was. And then I said like, oh no, I honestly am not the biggest fan. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna send you to the concert, and you have to write an article about why they're good. And then I was like, okay, cool.
Like, oh, send someone that likes them
Yeah.
and get them to write the article because they
Right.
actually care.
Yeah. So no,
Mhm.
I always think if you enjoy things, like if you enjoy music,
Yeah.
just enjoy them and don't try like. Why would you try to be like super cool about liking stuff? If you love this Taylor Swift song, then you love it, and then
Yeah.
it's cool. And yeah.
And there's also like a cycle of people who are into music, especially if they're into making music, where they kind of, when they start, and everyone listens to pop music when they start, because it's like you have what your parents play, and then it's like, oh, pop, and then what's happening there. And then you get into a specific genre and you're like, oh, I don't like pop anymore.
Yeah.
And then if you get into making music, then people usually circle around and they're like, pop is really, really well made.
Yeah.
Especially like the production is like very tight. Songwriting is very, very like,
Yeah.
it's all perfectly packaged into like this perfect little present.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any songwriters you look to for reference when you're writing something and you're stuck and you're like, this person always nails it?
There are many people that I admire the songwriting so much. Thinking about German artists, I love Trettmann.
Don't know.
Breaks my heart when I listen to Grauer Beton and stuff like that. It's just, and also the combination of his voice, and then I love it so much. Oh, also like Gold Roger, also German rapper, insane lyrics.
Yeah.
Like what he writes, like it has so many levels and so many dimensions, and he brings in references of philosophers, or like I don't know, this like many book references, and it's so interesting because I loved like Genius, and just seeing how like what people like all of the
words behind the words.
what's behind the words, and I love that so much when there are so many stories like that, and I think that's also what I try to do.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's so interesting, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's also like, it's nice to be able to get an insight into what someone's thinking about, but also get an insight into everything they're like, especially books they're reading or music they're listening to, and it feels like it builds this world around the artist.
Yeah.
Have you thought about? I'm sure every artist does. Kind of trying to create that narrative of your career and a world around yourself. Is there anything you get really excited about where you're like, maybe I should just talk more about cooking because I love food, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'm just that's maybe like, I just love music. And it's maybe a cliche answer, but I think there are so many interesting things about like albums and artists, and I really try to geek inside of that. So when I'm thinking, okay, what kind of content could I also make, then I sometimes think, okay, like I'm doing obviously my own music, but also I would like to talk more about like other musicians and artists and bringing artists together. And I think it's so also like collaborating with other people is the coolest thing ever. So that would be maybe like stuff that's from the music magazine or music journalism background, which is, I know, tight, but yeah.
Are there any artists that you've discovered maybe recently, English, or even better if it's German, that you are really excited about, but just feel like they're super underrated, not enough people know about them? You kind of want to send them to people.
I've listened to a lot of 070 Shake.
Okay, yeah.
Insane. She's so good, and the production is on another level, and I love it so much. And I feel like what I love about it is that she seems to be so free with just writing songs and what she likes, and sometimes it's just her like with weird vocals that don't even make sense, but it just feels like she was there in the moment and really enjoying like writing the song. And then there's one song that's called Blue Velvet of her. It's so good, and it's the perfect like balance of like being very mysterious and then also like setting a very chill mood, but it's still very special. It's a great song. Yeah, she's amazing. But then listening also like obviously Gold Roger. He was the first person in my whole life that I interviewed for my own blog at the time when I was like, I don't know, 17 or something. And I always get excited talking about his music because he's, I think, very underrated. Like obviously he has his plays and fans and shows and great shows.
Yeah.
But I think he's just insanely good at writing songs and performing also.
Are there any people you look to for like dream collaborations? If you could pick anyone, it could, or living or dead, actually.
Okay.
Also interesting.
The first person that pops into my mind is like also like a German rapper or German singer rapper. His name is Mayan, and I think Mayan has this. He seems like a very sweet guy who just gives it everything on stage and with songwriting, and he's so good with transforming his feelings into very sweet, heartfelt songs. So there would be he was the first guy that popped into my mind. Also Trettmann, because I think that we could do a very good song together. So I think his voice is just so amazing, and his songwriting, and I think it maybe could even fit well. So that would be like the German artist, but yeah, obviously like I love S2E17 Shake, I love Rosalia. I was the biggest Frank Ocean fan, so if we're like stepping it up into what's not going to happen in this lifetime, but I've loved him so much. Also, like I love Tyler the Creator. Oh my God. Okay, if you're saying like Dead or Alive, I am the biggest Mac Miller fan. Like I just, I cried when he died. I have to be honest. I was like, because I was listening to his music 24/7, and I love that the albums are so different, but still, so the essence is so great. And so I think Mac Miller is the one I'm gonna settle on.
Yeah, he was also like, there was obviously internet presence around him of him, like just videos of just him in life, but even through the music as well, just such like a positive spirit and everything. It was such like a sweet person. Though I guess the closest to that in terms of musically is maybe Thundercat, because I saw him at Astra Kulturhaus a year ago maybe.
Okay.
And at the end he played a Mac Miller song, and I was like, this is the closest I'm ever gonna be to being in a Mac Miller show.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He also I love the Tiny Desk performance. Where also Thundercat he seems also like a fun guy. Just sing a little.
Those are a lot of hip hop artists you've chosen as kind of people that would be dream collaborations.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you haven't made hip hop and released it, or is it just your interest is somewhere else right now?
No, I think it just was always something that I've listened to a lot of hip hop for many years now, and I think it's always in the back of my head. And I think when it comes to writing, it's also kind of like sometimes in the way I flow. But no, it's like the
way you flow.
That's always in the back of my head. But the new song that's coming out, or maybe if you're listening to this podcast, it's already come out. It's a little bit more in this like lo-fi hip hop vibe that I'm very interested in, also because it's just it's also like such a cool way to say more. You just have more words. Yeah. Like when you
Those are also all artists that have very famous concept albums.
Don't start me on that. Yes, I'm a
Please
sucker.
Start on that.
I'm a sucker for concept albums. I also I love when I just came here for the podcast, and I love that you were playing like not a playlist or just
an album.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so here for bringing albums back. I love listening to an album also from start to the beginning, and also like not on shuffle, but how the artist wanted it to
how it's
be
built,
like track by
as a
track.
story. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything, if you were to do a concept album now, is there anything that really interests you in like delving into that topic and figuring it out?
I was actually like a lot of the demos I have right now. I had this thought of just doing a concept album where every song was kind of inspired by a great like female artist.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a thing that kind of was. I wasn't thinking about it; just came that way. Like I was listening to a lot of cool female artists,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wrote a song, and then I had like, I don't know, it's like 070 in my head, or then I called the demo 070 because she was just like, and that was something that I think would be cool also because there are so many great female artists, and like looking at festivals or stuff, I just like yesterday I went to this live podcast of Homegirls,
Mm-hmm.
and they also like showed a chart of German festivals and the percentage of women, and there was one festival that had like a 3% women,
Mm-hmm.
and it's insane, like because I'm like maybe it's hard to do 50-50 or stuff, but 3% is very low, man.
Yeah.
And there are so many great female artists and like pushing each other. I think is very.
I think a large part of the problem with that isn't the festivals, but is labels that are more likely to sign male artists because it's supposedly more financially viable because they're cheaper to run shows with.
Yeah.
Which is kind of stupid because you can like the idea, especially for hip hop, is like you can put a guy in a hoodie on stage and it's a good show.
Yeah.
But if it's a girl, they have to have backup dancers and full outfits and makeup and everything. So it's like a whole production. But I also saw Little Sims recently, and she just hoodie, incredible show, just a hoodie, and it was like, yeah, you could do both of those flipped as well, and it works great.
Definitely, yeah. They were also like talking about like they also want to have fun and just stand there on a hoodie. And why would you need like so like I love Rosalia with her dances and stuff. It's an insane show.
Yeah.
But I think she would like just her vocals are absolutely enough, and her presence. She could stand there completely alone and would do such a great show.
Yeah, there are songs when she does her live show where everyone like they will go off stage, and I listened before seeing her. I listened to mostly her most recent album, and I was kind of like, I love it musically. A lot of the production's really cool, but didn't realize that she can also sometimes when people can really sing on records, they can't really sing. She can really, really sing. It's incredible.
She can. This Sakura song, it's so high, but she nails it every time. And she nails live vocals. Like also standing on these huge stages, it's tough. And she's also a producer. Like she does everything. She's just a power woman. I really like her. So okay, the number 2 artist that I want to,
that'd be a really cool.
That'd be insane. She's cool.
But that's also one of those things where it's like, I feel like Mac Miller would be very easy to work with in his personality type. But then Rosalia is like, it's almost like working with Beyonce, where it's like, oh my, that's Rosalia. Like, I don't know if I'd be comfortable in the studio.
I think maybe like also, I don't even like Mac Miller or like people who seem more chill don't really have to be more chill, you know? So maybe, we don't know, so maybe Rosalia is super chill and cool to work with, knows what she wants, I guess. But I bet that like also like big, like Mac Miller stuff, he had a vision, he was ambitious and hardworking, and he's maybe also was maybe like very clear about what he wants. So, but I think it's very interesting to work with people, and I'd love to do a lot of more songs with people because it's so like, I love it, it's so cool.
Is there one side of the spectrum of I'm on stage in a hoodie versus Beyonce, Rosalia, like Kendrick Lamar type shows where it's like every second is timed that you would be more interested in doing?
Me personally, like in doing or in okay. So I was just gonna say like as an audience member, I always liked like intimate concerts. Yeah. And one thing I would love to do, because I think that also some of my songs when they're very chill, and I think people told me that I kind of have a good voice for like trying to get to sleep.
And you're like, thanks.
No, but really, it's the sweetest thing. I love like telling bedtime stories to my nieces, and I think I would love to do like a laying down concert with everyone just having like a very chill, intimate atmosphere and just like calming people down.
Yeah.
That would be something I love. But then on the other hand, I'd also love to do like a pop queen, like with every move was like a 8-week dance rehearsal or stuff, and
Yeah.
like just giving it all, and that like a very high energy thing. I would also love to do that. Maybe both. Maybe we could do like a tour where you have everything like this and this, and then you can choose what type of show you want to go to. So
Your opening act can be, you sell tickets for the opening act where you're doing the full pop queen thing. You
yeah,
sell separate tickets for the chill one afterwards, and then if you are down, you can just go through the whole thing. You can dance and then get exhausted and just lie down.
yeah, that's a good
and chill.
idea.
I also saw videos from Lil Kana before he was doing I don't know if he does world tours, but at least Europe tours, where he would like sit on stage for the more chill songs, and that's
Yeah.
got to be like a really nice experience for
Yeah.
for everyone, for the performer and for the audience. You also, with strings and all the different parts of your songs, there's a lot of instrumentation. Would you also want that live on stage when you're performing, or kind of strip it down to just like drums and guitar type of thing, or more hip hop, like DJ backing track style?
I like my first, when last year I did the Flux FM Bergfest, and then I was alone on stage with my backing track. It was like maybe not very professional.
Right.
They haven't booked me since. No, but it, no, but it was fun, and I think that because I wanted to do that so much because I loved the production. Maluji produced the whole first EP, and his production was, I love it so much, and it was so many like parts about the production that I loved and that I also wanted to have on stage.
Yeah.
But then again, like a couple of weeks ago, I did like 2 shows, just Francis and me on stage, like my producer now from the second EP, and him like with the electric guitar and me with vocals, and I also loved that. And ideally, I would always want to combine things and do like maybe one song like that, maybe one song stripped, maybe one song with a whole like whole band, or even like a whole orchestra. I love these orchestra. Also Machiavelli sessions. Like have you listened to them? Like this great podcast of Machiavelli. I think Jan Kawelke and Vasily Golod started that. I don't know if I think Salva Humsi joined also. But yeah, great podcast about like rap and politics. And they started.
Oh, I have seen that actually. There was one with, it was a German rapper I really didn't expect that did like a cover with the Georgia Smith song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was really cool.
And with the whole orchestra,
yeah.
it's so cool. Also one with Nura, also a great, like super cool female German rapper. I love this also. It's so the whole spectrum of like very, very tiny, very, very stripped down, and then give it a whole
Like
orchestra or grand thing. I think that's has its appeal, everything of it. Yeah.
You can also mix that in with a single show, maybe not with the orchestra because so many people need to be there. But I know Dave, the English rapper, he does that for his concerts where he'll like bring out a guitarist or like bring out the keys and then like put them back to do like the more hip hop songs.
He's also such a like you know the song Both Sides of a Smile, I think it is.
No.
Maybe it's the wrong title, but it's so cinematic, also almost like a film scene, because in the second verse there's this female rapper. I really forgot her name. Maybe you can click that, insert that here.
Yeah.
But she's kind of then starting to almost like a conversation, just telling him about like, what are you doing, David? And then he jumps in and it melts into the 2 voices together, and it's so nice. There's also this one Kendrick Lamar song, I forgot what the name was, where
the argument one. I also can't remember.
But I love this stuff.
There's also a song by him that is called Leslie, and like in terms of like getting emotional about music, usually it would be like be into it like dancing and being like happy, but that song like makes me cry. It's so well written. But so we're talking about the concerts. So he brings on instruments and stuff like that. Are there any people, if you look at their performances as like maybe the idols isn't the right word, kind of people you really look up to in their performances, and kind of want to try to emulate that? Maybe thinking especially about this EP.
Yeah. So Rosalia is definitely like the first because,
Mhm.
as you said, like it's the perfect mixture of how she
Mhm.
does things like with her songs that are more like chill, but then also these very dramatic like dance stuff and just
Mhm.
everything. So that's very impressive, and I also love her stage presence.
Yeah.
She's so strong with her, just with her energy and her presence,
Mhm.
and that's something that I'm really interested in working at. How you can really make a good show for everybody, because people like also want to see you in a like interesting presence and
Yeah.
energy, and I think that's definitely something that you can learn from Rosalia.
Mhm.
Um,
Also, her super underrated part of that show is the camera guy. I don't know if it's one person that tours with her,
Uh-huh.
but it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
Like, it's done for the screen, so you can see them either side, but it's not just like a static, like, oh, look, you can see the person even though you're way back.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole choreography to it.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that because when I saw her in the velodrome here,
Yeah.
it was like I was very far back.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
So reggaeton inspirations, hip hop inspirations. Is there anything more from the side of what people would associate with your music that you look up to, or that you would recommend to people to check out if they like yours?
I think that's super tough because
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, now like it's a perfect like combination with this question and the last question, but I love FKA Twigs.
Okay.
And she has a great stage presence. Also, sometimes she engages with her audience in such a sweet way. Like she goes to the first row and just
Mhm.
takes the face of somebody and is like singing to this person. And she has this very ethereal
Like
presence.
fairy-like.
Yeah. So she's great. But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of her stuff also. She's a great artist and also so interesting, like a very interesting thing. But yeah, I think just also I've been listening to so many like cool German artists, so I would definitely recommend to check those out.
Yeah. I think all
yeah.
the ones you mentioned we'll put in the
Cool.
description. So
Yeah.
especially people who are not from Germany, but
Yeah.
people who are living in Berlin but don't know German artists, go check it out.
Yeah.
So we've done about 50 minutes.
That was fast. Like
yeah,
it
you
felt-
kind of lose track of time a little bit,
Yeah.
and you forget. I forget immediately what I said, especially
Yeah.
like now I'm getting a little better about it. But the first couple of months, we'd finish and be like, I have no idea what we just talked about.
Yeah.
But, do you want to promote anything? It's quite far away for shows because it's in August, but the new single that will have been
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Um,
Check that out.
yeah. What's it called?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, the new single.
The new single is done, but I'm the worst with titles.
Same.
I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the worst part about making music is coming up with a good title.
Yeah, and then self-promotion. It's those
Yeah.
two things where you're like, then you're promoting this title that you kind of
Yeah.
came up with last minute, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, please listen to me.
Actually, like the song Ladder that I did is
Mhm.
I named it Ladder because of Mac Miller also.
Oh, okay,
Obviously,
nice, yeah.
because of ladders. But yeah, so the new song, my name is Enya Elstner, so just please check out my name because I don't know what the song will
Mhm.
be called, but it will be the most recent one.
Yep.
But-
Also in the description, it will all be there.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you very, very much for coming out.
Thank you so much. It was great fun.